What is going on, Governor? Chisgule here, and today we're going to be talking about how you can smash your enemies on defense. That's right, if you choose the right Garrison Commanders, if you set your defense appropriately, you will obliterate your enemies and punish them, making them regret the day they attacked your city. If you like punishing your enemies, winning in wars, you should totally like and subscribe, because we're going to help you do that. And we're sponsored by the makers of Rise of Civilizations. So, with that said, how do you punish your enemies with Garrison defense? Well, it's worth mentioning that when someone attacks your city, you are going to have 50% deaths and 50% severely wounded units, whereas the enemy, they are going to have all of their severely wounded units be deaths. Super savage. So if you set up your defense correctly, you can really punish them, especially if they attack when they shouldn't. Now, there's a couple things we need to talk about. I'm just going to tease for you for a moment just how insane a proper Garrison defense is. I showed this teaser clip in my last video. You should watch it in that detailed war report. Link will be either in the description or in a card in the top. I'm going to play the video, and then I'm going to show you the damage reports, the war reports, and the conclusions, the outcomes that were shocking to me. The attackers had hundreds of thousands of deaths in total of Tier 4 and Tier 5 troops. Savage. And if you can believe it, the defender in this case was AFK. In 30 seconds of being AFK, this defender did more damage, permanent damage, to the enemy than they did to us during the duration of the entirety of this war. Yeah. AFK defense. He ends up porting out because he realizes, oh, I'm getting swarmed. If he had stayed, the casualties would have been even worse. So, how do you get those kinds of results? There's a couple things we need to talk about. We need to talk about whether or not you're dealing with a rally or a swarm. We need to talk about the commanders that you're going to choose to defend. And then we need to talk about the talents. All of these things are critically important. Now, let me present this idea of a rally or a swarm. A rally is when a single army is attacking your city, and it's very large because it's a rally attack. This could be in upwards of 2 million units coming at you. And a swarm is when many individual armies, typically no more than 200 to 300,000 units a pop, are attacking you and they surround your city. The way you prepare for those defenses is very different, and I want you to keep that in mind when we talk about the different commanders that you can use. Now, to set your commander on defense, you tap in to your wall, you click the icon that looks like a gate, and then you tap the commander, change the primary or the secondary, and the talents of the primary commander applies, only the primary, and the skills of both commanders apply. So the commanders you choose for both the primary and secondary slot are super relevant. Now let's talk about those commanders. We're going to review at the legendary tier first, then we're going to go to the epic tier. And at the legendary tier, you really have two choices. You've got Richard I, and you have Charles Martel. And the reason that I recommend these two and these two only is because they have the most skills of any of those commanders that are actually relevant to the battle. Let me explain by showing a commander that is not as exciting on defense, and that is Minamoto. Now, I'm not saying Minamoto is bad on defense if you had him, in a really good state compared to your other commanders. For instance, I have his expertise skill. But look at his second skill. Increases cavalry march speed and attack. Well, guess what? You're not marching anywhere. That's irrelevant on defense. Third skill. Increases your damage to barbarians. Guess what? That's irrelevant on defense. So he's actually only kind of got 2.5 skills that are relevant to this situation. Meanwhile, a commander like Richard I, every single one of these skills, and I'm not going to review all of them here, but they're all pretty darn relevant in a defense capacity. Now, the other thing that's super relevant and life-changing on defense is the Garrison Talent tree. We'll talk about that in a minute, but your primary commander must have this talent tree. It is that life-changing. I hesitated to make this video because it is so life-changing that even my enemies would benefit profoundly from this information. So learn from this. It will change your life. Okay, those are the legendary commanders I would choose. Let me pick another commander here I would absolutely not choose, and that's a commander like Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar's third skill, completely irrelevant on defense. Fourth skill, completely irrelevant on defense. You want to pick commanders that have these skills leveled up highly and all of their skills are relevant. Let's look at the epic tier. Epic tier has a lot of choices. Those commanders that have the Garrison Talent tree, and they would be candidates as a primary or a secondary, and there's commanders that I would only use as a secondary. We'll talk about those. The first that we want to talk about is Kusunoki. Kusunoki is an exceptional anti-swarm Garrison commander. I'm using him personally for that purpose. Also, I'm about to get his expertise skill, and if I needed to, I could use Mysterious Sculptures, or Mysterious? That's not what I mean. Universal Sculptures to max out this last skill and have his expertise skill unlocked. Point is, his first skill does AoE damage, which is really excellent. His Garrison Talent makes it so that everyone who's attacking you gets punished even more because it increases the counterattack damage. Kusunoki is a great candidate for a primary commander and a garrison defense. In a similar vein, Sun Tzu is exceptional for anti-swarm, and pairing them together would be basically bananas. Sun Tzu's first skill does AoE damage, and if you have the expertise skill, it can hit upwards of 5 targets. A+, yes please, I'm in on that plan. All of the other skills are relevant for garrison defense, including the fourth skill, which increases the amount of damage that your defensive commanders are going to do. Now, while the commanders up to this point have been really good anti-swarm commanders, Pelagius is exceptional single-target garrison defense. Yes, if it is a rally coming at you, Pelagius is a good commander choice, and that is because Pelagius' first skill damages a single target. So rather than doing less damage to more targets, it's more damage to a single target. And this is the sort of thing you want to be doing. A commander that I am less excited about is Hermann. And Hermann would be relevant in a rally defense capacity. And the reason I'm less excited about him is because the second skill he has increases archer march speed, which you're not marching anywhere, so that's not particularly relevant. Now, next up is Ulji Mundak, who I think is actually very exceptional in garrison defense. And a part of the reason is that he has a attack tree that other commanders do not have. That's right, none of the other garrison defenders have the attack tree. They have the skill tree. Now, I like the skill tree a lot, but this one is interesting. Ulji Mundak is good as a anti-swarm and single-target commander, and I'll explain why. Ulji Mundak's first skill reduces the defense of a single target. Super relevant in a rally capacity. The fourth skill makes it so that every time Ulji Mundak is attacked, he has a chance to increase his own damage. Super strong in a swarm capacity. Ulji Mundak does both very, very elegantly. Okay, there are a few commanders that don't have garrison talents that would be candidates as a secondary in your garrison defense, and that includes Boudicca, who's just generally good. She is restoring your rage, reducing their attack, healing. She's doing a lot of things really nicely and is not reliant on a specific type of troop. Next up is Joan of Arc, who also is not reliant on a specific type of troop. In fact, her first skill buffs pretty much every type of troop that's in your city except for siege units, and it's a not small amount of buffing, 30% to a single stat for both archers, cavalry, and infantry. She is also restoring rage, and if you've got her expertise skill, that is going to be really, really strong in regenerating even more rage and sustaining those buffs. With that said, I think she's more of a single target defender against a rally, rather than a swarm, because her third and fourth skills both are relevant to normal attacks, and normal attacks only apply to the one army that is your primary target. So with that said, let's talk about the garrison talents that are so life-changing on defense, and believe me, they are. I want to start with the legendary commanders and review their talents because they have a tree that no other commander has, and that is the defense tree. Now, the talents that we want to take a look at are these garrison talents, and you want to get this top talent, Divine Favor, which gives you a shield at a max absorption factor of 500. And the reason I like this, and the reason I like every single talent along the way here, is that when, and this is common in game design, when you have talents that have limited applicability, they generally are stronger than the talents you would find other places. So point for point, you get more value, but in less situations. Let me give an example. This talent, Impregnable, reduces skill damage taken by the garrison by 15%. That's 3 talent points for a 15% reduction. Meanwhile, if I look at a tree that is less restricted, let's go and look at the nuking tree, and we'll look at Heraldic Shield. Same number of talent points, but reducing skill damage by only 6%. Only 6%, more than double the effectiveness, but limited applicability only for Garrison defense. But with that said, we're picking Garrison defense commanders right now, not general commanders, which is why it's so powerful that you pick a Garrison commander that you can level up a lot as the primary. And you get every single talent that is within this tree. Now, if you think you are very, very worried about a swarm defense, you could start by getting this talent here, Nowhere to Turn, which makes it so that you get rage every time the city is attacked. This is bananas if you get swarm attacked, by the way. If you think you're more worried about a rally, you could be picking up Impregnable first, because that rally is going to have massive nukes. Ultimately, I personally made my way to Divine Favor first. Then I picked up Nowhere to Turn. Then I picked up Impregnable, and this talent in the middle, increasing your march speed, only seems relevant to me if you think you're going to be marching this army somewhere else to serve as the captain of a garrison. For instance, if you were going to be the captain of a flag's garrison or a castle's garrison, then I guess the march speed is actually super relevant. But I'm going to avoid that talent, or those two talents for now. Instead, and this is a part of the reason why the legendary commanders I think are worthy of being the primary, I'm making my way toward Burning Blood, which is a talent that is more anti-swarm tech. Grants an additional amount of rage every time the commander's troops are attacked. Well, guess what? If you've got 5 or 6 armies attacking you, I'm pretty sure this works when you're in a garrison. It seems to me like you're going to generate a whole heck of a lot of rage. That seems incredibly strong to me. I will likely make my way down to Testudo Formation for the defensive capability that is there, and I might alternatively head into Undying Fury to grant additional rage this is most relevant in a rally capacity, but good in a swarm or a rally, and also Call of the Pack to increase the defense of all troops by an upwards of, I believe, 6% when the army gets below 50% strength. These talents are really crucial, but we need to take a look at the other commanders because they don't have this defense tree. Now, the reason I think Ulji Mundak is so interesting is because he's got the attack tree, and contained within the attack tree is that same Burning Blood talent, making it so that every time you're attacked, you're getting additional rage. So I think Ulji Mundak is a very, very strong candidate as a primary garrison commander, and I would pick up Burning Blood if you're worried about that anti-swarm technology, and I think it's really quite good. If you were worried that the fight might go on for a very long time, which I suppose is conceivable, then you could make your way to Effortless, which for the longer that the battle goes on, you get more and more buffs, which I could see being very powerful. For the same reasons that I went for Undying Fury and Call of the Pack on Richard I, I would consider picking those up here with Ulji Mundak as well. Now, if you're using one of the other commanders that has a skill tree, such as Kusunoki, Sun Tzu, Pelagius, or Herman, then I would take a look at making my way towards Rejuvenate. Rejuvenate is going to help you with Rage Restoration, and Rage Restoration is one of my favorite mechanics in this game. The other direction you could go is to pick up Heraldic Shield, but I would caution you to not be picking up talents like Naked Rage, which increase your damage dealt, but also your damage taken. Anything like that is very, very bad in a swarm attack scenario. With the infantry tree here on this commander, you could also make your way to Undying Fury or Call of the Pack. On Kusunoki, the archer talents are less compelling, but you could make your way to Arrows Knocked, which when the army is reduced by 50% strength, you're going to increase your damage output by 9%, which seems good. And in Pelagius's tree for cavalry, many of these talents are not all that exciting. I'm not in love with these. I would focus instead on the skill tree. And lastly, let's see, we covered Sun Tzu. Oh, Herman also has archer talents, so we've covered that already. There you go. Those are the talents I would be choosing. Honestly, it's all about the garrison talents. From there, the rest is gravy. You've got the Garrison Talents, you've done most of the work. Is it reasonable to get one of your commanders that you're not using to smash other players to 4 stars so that you can have the max Garrison Talents? Absolutely, slam dunk, do it. Not doing it is a mistake, in my opinion. And honestly, it helps me sleep better at night, knowing that if somebody attacks my city, there's a non-zero chance that they are going to get super punished. So, my friends, I hope that this video has been helpful. Garrison defense will literally change your life and punish your enemies in a way that they will not see coming. And they will regret the day that they attacked your city if you've built up a lot of troops. If you like this video, please do leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment. That's how I know you like this stuff. And until next time, my friends, you have fun smashing the kingdom.